Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Now in today's video we're going to actually be doing something that I'm pretty excited about, and as you can probably tell from the title, we're going to be trying to install Windows 95 here on the Nintendo Wii. Now I'm sure to some of you guys out there this might sound totally crazy because the Nintendo Wii is not your typical system you would install Windows 95 on, but this is going to be a total experiment, and this is actually made possible through the DOSBox port to the Nintendo Wii. So we're just going to jump right into it. Now there are actually a couple of different ways that you can install Windows 95 on the Nintendo Wii and just DOSBox in general. There's a bit of an easier way and a bit of a more challenging way. Now the easier way is literally just downloading a pre-made, pre-installed image file of Windows 95 and just loading off of that through DOSBox. You just type one command, press enter, and DOSBox will actually load off of the image file, and you'll boot right up into Windows 95 because it's already, pre-installed for you. The more challenging way is actually creating a blank image file ourselves and then installing Windows 95 on that like you would on a regular computer. And that's what we're going to be doing today because it's just going to be a little bit more of a challenge, and it's going to make this video a lot longer, so hopefully you guys will get some entertainment value out of this. So we're going to go ahead and launch DOSBox right here. We're going to press the load. Now when it loads up here, I mean, it's pretty much standard DOSBox from here on out. The only difference is if you press the home button on the Wii remote, you'll see we get this nice menu right here, which kind of mimics the Wii home menu. There is that nice sound effect too. And this is version 1.7 of DOSBox for the Wii. You see we even have our controller battery indicators here. And if you did not have a USB keyboard plugged in, you would have to press this keyboard button up here. And yeah, check this out, guys. This is the keyboard you would have to use if you didn't have a physical keyboard, and it is not the easiest thing to use because, well, you're using a Wii remote. So we can type out like a command here. So let's say we want to check the version. We can type vir, and then you can actually press enter to like send, basically like typing in vir and then pressing enter. If you press OK, it'll do that for us here. So it's actually kind of nice because you can kind of type in multiple commands. Like if I wanted to go to keyboard here and I could type in vir, enter, and then say I want to type in dir and enter, I could press OK, and now it will actually type in those two commands. So yeah, it is kind of cumbersome to use if you don't have a physical keyboard, but since we do, we're going to go ahead and use that. Now, one thing about this version of DOSBox is it actually automatically mounts the C drive for us as soon as we launch it, and it has a specific folder called DOSBox that it creates on the SD card that it mounts as the C drive in DOSBox. So we're going to have to actually unmount that because we want to use an image that I actually created and stored on the SD card that's going to act as our hard drive. So what we're going to do is type in mount and then -U or -U to unmount it, and then we're going to type the letter C for the C drive and press enter, and now you see it says drive C has successfully been removed. Now what we have to do is mount our diskette, to actually boot off of, as well as our hard disk. So we're going to go ahead and start with the floppy disk first. So the command we have to type out is img mount or image mount. In this case, since we're going to be working with the floppy drive, we have to type in the number 0. Then we have to actually specify the location of the boot disk image file. So in my case, it's on the USB drive, so I have to type in USB:/ and the name of the image is boot.img. Then we have to specify the type of image that it is, so that's going to be -T for type, and this is going to be a floppy image. And then for our file system, in this case, it's going to be none. So we do that, press enter, and you see now it says drive number 0 mounted as USB:/ boot.img. So we have our boot disk mounted. Now we have to actually mount the hard disk image, which I have stored on the SD card. So we're going to use the same img mount command. In this case, we're going to use the number 2, which corresponds to the primary master disk, which we definitely want this to be. We're going to type in SD:/ for it to pull the file off of the SD card, and the name of the image file is hdd.img. Now we have to specify the type, so -T, and it's going to be HDD for a hard disk drive. Now we have to actually specify the size, which is the disk geometry, which I have written down here. And then we have to do our file system switch here, and in this case it's going to be none. So we do that and press enter, and now our drive number 2 is mounted as SD:/hdd.img, which is perfect. Now what we have to actually do is boot off of the A drive. So to do that, we're going to type in boot -L space A and press enter. And now we're going to actually boot off of the Windows 95 boot disk, and you can see we're loading here. Alright everybody, so if you had a keen eye, you probably noticed that I did not actually mount the Windows 95 setup ISO image, and the reason for that is, well, I tried it off camera and it actually did not work. It did not actually load the proper driver to recognize the CD drive. So a way around that, what I've actually done is I've opened up the hard disk image that I know that we can mount. This is a blank, already formatted MS-DOS primary partition. So what I did is I copied all of the contents from the CD over to this 95 setup folder. So what we can do is actually change directory, go into the 95 setup folder, and now we can actually run the setup program. And that actually kicked us back out to the homebrew channel, but I do know what the problem is. It actually tried to run ScanDisk, and apparently I don't think that actually works. So we have to actually run setup with the /IS switch, which will skip ScanDisk. We press enter, and maybe not. Maybe that won't do anything. Alright, how about we just do setup dash question. Okay, well maybe the setup executable doesn't even work. Yeah, so apparently now... Honestly, I have no idea. Like, we're running, I mean, look, we're running a 95 setup, and we run setup, even just running it like, which, I mean, when we ran this before, it kicked us back out to the homebrew channel. Now it's just not doing anything. I mean, I can try to recopy the image file over. Let me do that really quickly. Yeah, I'm looking at the image right now. That literally apparently corrupted everything because there's nothing on the disk anymore. Yeah, by the way, guys, I have about 2 hours worth of footage at this point. It has been a pretty wild ride so far. Yeah, there's a lot of editing. I mean, the majority of the footage is just kind of silent as I'm trying to figure things out on my computer. I thought I had like a foolproof solution to get this working before I started the video, but you can see that's not really the case. But hopefully this will help some of you guys out who are, you know, doing this. This isn't really necessarily a tutorial, it's more of a tech experiment. I think it just kind of adds a fun aspect to the video. So yeah, with that being said, what I'm doing right now is I mean, you guys are just looking at the homebrew channel, but I am copying a brand new blank image over to the SD card. I'm then going to copy the setup files from the Windows 95 CD over to a folder on that hard disk image, just like I did before, and then we're going to run setup with the /IS switch, which I actually saw a video that a guy did that running DOSBox, and it did actually load the setup. So in theory, this should work, but in theory and in practice are usually two different things. So we will see, though. We will check this out, and hopefully it will work. Oh, wait a second. I think it's actually going to work. Let's go. Copying files needed for Windows setup. Check that out. So, yeah, I actually just went ahead and created a new image file. You need to use the /IS switch on the actual setup program there. Now you see it's got an error. Okay, well, error loading progman.exe. It did start to load. You saw the mouse cursor there for a brief second. Let's just try it again. Let's do setup. We'll do /IS, and we also will use the /IG switch, which is set up for older computers. So we'll do that and see if that possibly will allow us to get past that error message there. But yeah, I'm happy we actually got the thing to like launch into setup. It definitely took longer than I thought, but we got it working, so that's a good thing. Or almost working. I mean, we got the setup program to launch. Now it's just actually getting through setup. So we'll see if, okay, error loading progman.exe. Alright, so I've got a couple more switches here. So IS is going to not run ScanDisk. IG, it says, is set up for older computers. /N is going to run setup without use of a mouse in case, you know, the mouse does not work. And /IW, which has to be capitalized, will actually skip the license agreement. So we'll see if this actually gives us some better results. I mean, the thing is, it's trying to load progman.exe and it's failing, so that leads me to believe that the file could be corrupt. I don't think this is going to fix the problem. Yeah, it's doing the exact same thing. So I assume progman.exe is corrupted somehow. So I'm going to go ahead and investigate that really quickly here. Alright, so I've got one more thing here to try. I actually went ahead and copied the files from a Windows 95 OSR2 setup CD as opposed to the RTM release. So this is obviously a newer version. So we'll see if we can change over to the C drive here. Let's see our directory. So 95 setup is still there. We're going to change directory to 95 setup, and we're going to try to run setup with the same /is switch. Alright, so we're waiting here for setup to load. Alright, well, good news everybody. I finally got the setup program to launch. You can see here we are booted into the Windows 95 setup, which is pretty awesome. Now, essentially what ended up happening, I think the disk image file got corrupted again. Because we still were not able to load into the setup program, as you guys saw in that previous clip. This right here is Windows 95 RTM, the RTM release of Windows 95, as opposed to OSR2 that I was trying to load in the previous clip. OSR2, when I tried to load it, you guys saw that the system essentially froze up. The cursor was still blinking when you would type out setup and launch it. Normally it would display a message saying copying files for Windows setup. It wasn't doing that. And it just essentially froze, and I left it on that screen for like a half an hour and it did not do anything. So what I did is I went ahead and created a new image file, copied the contents of the CD image over to it, and that actually worked. You can see here we are in the Windows 95 setup. Now we do have a slight issue here because the Wii only has 2 USB ports on the back, and I'm using one of them for the USB drive and I'm using the other one for the USB keyboard. Now the USB keyboard I chose to use is an Apple USB keyboard that has 2 USB ports on it, and I thought that would work with a mouse. I could just plug a mouse into the keyboard, and I actually have a mouse plugged in, and the driver has apparently not loaded because I'm moving the mouse right now and it is not doing anything. You can see that the cursor is still there in the center of the screen. So we're going to have to use the keyboard, so we're just going to press enter. And we're going to actually just go through this process with only the keyboard. And yeah, this is definitely going to take a while to load the setup right here. You see we haven't even gotten to like the actual setup wizard yet. It's just preparing the setup wizard, and it is taking a decent amount of time to load that. And that is definitely due to the fact that DOSBox is an emulation software as opposed to a virtualization software. So it is actually emulating a x86 computer. We're going to just let it set up here, or prepare the setup rather. So we're going to install this to the C Windows directory, which it's going to have to create here, and it's going to check our hard disk. Now it's going to prepare our Windows directory and verify that your computer has enough disk space to install Windows 95, which it does. So I think we're going to go with the typical option here just to save space. So we're going to press next, we're going to press enter. And we're going to type in our product identification number. And for the name, we're just going to put Michael. And we're going to actually, yeah, let's just go with the recommended. We'll just install the most common components. So we'll press enter. And we're not going to create a startup disk because we don't need one. So we're going to have to tab over here to... Now, for whatever reason, I think this is just DOSBox, like this particular version for the Wii, but it actually does not recognize, at least in my case, it does not recognize the Alt key on the keyboard. And this is not because it doesn't have anything to do with me using an Apple keyboard, because there is still a key that Windows will see as the Alt key. But even with a regular Windows keyboard, when you would press the Alt key, it would not actually, like, pressing Alt Y, for example, to, switch to yes, or Alt N for no, it does not actually, recognize that. So we have to use the tab key and the down arrow key to switch to no. But we've got it switched to no. We don't want to create a startup disk, so we'll press enter. And we're going to begin copying files. Now this is probably going to take the longest. I will leave this recording. But yeah, this is definitely going to take a decent amount of time because, again, this is not virtualization. We are emulating a x86 based computer, so this probably will take a decent amount of time. Alright, so setup has just finished up. We're going to go ahead and press enter to restart the system. And it says it has detected a disk in the floppy disk drive, and we can't really do anything about that now because, we are booted into the setup. However, we can unmount it when we load back into DOSBox. I mean, we're going to have to boot from this image anyway. So we're going to go ahead and just press enter. We're going to restart the system. And it looks like DOSBox will actually just quit back to the homebrew channel when a restart is requested, as you saw from that message there. So we're going to go ahead and launch back into DOSBox here. So we're going to go ahead and type in the boot command, and we're going to boot from the C drive. And there we go, starting Windows 95, getting ready to run Windows 95 for the first time. Pretty awesome. Now we'll see if once we actually load in here and install drivers, hopefully it will install the driver for the mouse, because as I said before, I do have it plugged in. Now what I could also do, if it's something with the USB ports on the keyboard, I could unplug the USB drive in the back of the Wii, since we don't need it anymore since we're booting off the SD card. So that is an option for us, but we're just going to see if it actually boots up first, which hopefully it will. Okay, so we've got part of the Windows 95 background here, as you can see. Alright, so it looks like it is going through the first boot procedures here. You can see it's got the Windows is now setting up the following items list, but the screen has not, the background has not loaded properly, and we've got this black square in the center of the screen. You can see that, so that's actually kind of interesting, but it does appear to be going through. Yeah, it is going through the setup. We're just having a couple of display issues here, but it is going through it, which is great. Alright, so you can see we've got a lot of graphical glitches going on here. The map, you can see, is kind of displaying across the top of the screen. We still have that black box in the center. We are missing two buttons. As you can see, we only have the close button. The other two buttons are not labeled and they're not buttons. So we'll just press enter. And I believe the black box is the mouse pointer. Oh, okay, so there we go. We've gotten rid of most of the graphical glitches. We still have the black box for the mouse pointer. Wow, okay, it's actually loading up to the desktop. Check that out. We've got some of the icons are kind of screwed up. What is going on here? Do you see that the recycle bin, internet, and set up the Microsoft Network icons, there's the text where they normally are, but the actual icons are above the Windows 95 welcome window here. This is very interesting. Now the mouse, I still cannot move it around. I'm gonna try to unplug the USB drive and plug the mouse in directly to the Wii, and we'll see if that oh yeah, okay, so there we go. So now we can actually move the mouse pointer around. You can see it's actually not a mouse pointer. These icons, they're over here. Oh, I think it's just probably can I just draw a box around here? No? Because you can see it when I highlight these, the icons show up. But when I don't highlight them, the icons do not show up, and they're all up here at the top of the screen. There's also part of a right-click context menu. See, there's paste and paste shortcut. I didn't even right-click on the mouse. I mean, this is the first time that I'm right-clicking. Oh, it's the label, the paste and paste shortcut label. You can see they're not here. They're only here when you hover over them. And as I do this, you can see that we get more of the paste and paste shortcut, text up there. So that's actually interesting. But it does work. We can go into the start menu here. Let's go in here, and oh my gosh, all the dude, look at this. What is going on? There's definitely something wrong with the display driver that it has loaded. You see, we've got the start menu items appearing up here now. And yeah, check this out. As we open up the start menu items, we've got this stuff appearing over here. This is part of these up here. See, when I hover over programs, I mean, look at that. The icon up there gets selected. Same with the document. Man, there's definitely something strange going on. All right, so here's control panel I just opened up. As you can see that, yeah, it's still, oh my gosh, now the icons are attaching to the control panel window. Yeah, check that out. So okay, well now everything up here is gone. Now if I open up the start menu again, it's probably going to come back. So let's, come on, open up, and yep, you can see that this right here, yeah, this is so weird because not only is it displaying up here, but it's also split off. These three items are programs, documents, and settings. Then find, help, and run are over there on the right side, and then shutdown is in the center. Do you see that? Yeah, I have not seen Windows 95 display like this before. This is definitely a first for me. So yeah, I have seen videos of people running it on a Wii, and it did not look like this. It definitely looked much better. But we got the thing to run. We got Windows 95 installed. It might not be displaying 100% correctly, but it is actually running. Let's see if we can go into properties here and change some of these settings. Okay, so we're actually running at 256 color. You can see that here. And it looks like we can, yeah, we can change the resolution up to 1280 by 1024. So let's do that here and hit apply. You have not specified what type of monitor you use. Your new settings may not work correctly. Do you want to specify? Yeah, let's specify a new monitor. Okay, so we're just going to go with a standard monitor type, and since we can get 1280 by 1024, we're just going to choose Super VGA 1280 by 1024. Hit OK, and you have to hit apply again. Alright, it'll resize your desktop. Let's hit OK, and it looks like it's not displaying, so we're going to have to wait for the 15-second timer to time out. And yeah, so restore your original desktop size. So 1280 by, what was that? 1280 by 1024 did not work. So let's try to bump it up to, let's just even go to 800 by 600. Yeah, it looks like 800 by 600 is doing the exact same thing. So we might only be able to run this at 640 by 480. The reason why it looks stretched out to you guys is because I am running the Wii in widescreen mode. So that's why it's widescreen. So yeah, it looks like we're just going to have to wait the 15 seconds for it to time out and switch us back to our older display settings. Well, it looks like it's not actually setting us back to the default settings. Yeah, we might have to actually restart the system. Let me go ahead and do that. It looks like it did not restore our display settings correctly. Alright, so we're booting up here. You can see the Windows 95 boot screen displays correctly, with the animation at the bottom and everything. Oh, actually, it's probably not going to display anything now because it's running at that newer resolution. Oh my gosh, that's annoying. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I guess when it was on that timer, that 15-second timer, it must have registered that I clicked yes or something, or that I pressed enter. I don't know, because it thinks that we pressed yes and that those settings that we selected are, what we wanted. So definitely not the case, but we were able to get it running at 640 by 480, so I am happy about that, but it appears that it's not going to actually display anything now. But I think, guys, that is going to wrap up today's video. This was a success. We were able to get Windows 95 installed on the Nintendo Wii. Did not work as well as we wanted it to, probably, with all those display glitches, but it is pretty cool that we actually got it up and running here on the Nintendo Wii. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, definitely be sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure to get subscribed down below and turn on those channel notifications if you haven't already to get notified whenever I upload a new video, which I do every single week, multiple times per week actually, on this channel. And if you guys have any comments, questions, or video suggestions for me, be sure to leave those down below, as I always enjoy reading what you guys have to say. And I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.